Hey class, welcome back. This is week 7's video. To start off with, let's look at what your assignments are for this week. Now, this week is going to be a big one. We are finally done topic 1, but since we're done a whole topic, a unit, that means it's time for a test. So in order to prepare for our test, here are the assignments that are due for this week. So there are two things that are not graded. There's a topic 1 study guide, and at the end of this video, I'll show you what that looks like. And then there's a Jeopardy review. Now, my in-person students, we're going to be playing Jeopardy in class, so you're not going to see that in your Schoology. But for my virtual students, you will see a link that takes you to our Jeopardy. You can do that alone, or if you want to challenge your family members, go ahead. It's a good way to study to get ready for the thing that is graded for this week, and that's the topic 1 assessment. Now, like I said, it's the only thing that's for a grade this week, and it's worth 20 points. Now, I'm willing to give everybody 2 tries on it. Please take your time. Try reviewing first. So try the study guide, do a few practice problems, review your notes, and then do the Jeopardy review. Give yourself plenty of chances to succeed on this test. Don't wait to the last minute and then rush through, not study or anything like that, and then you're sitting with 2 poor test grades. Okay, it's worth a big assignment, and the end of this 9 weeks is coming up very soon. With that being said, the only reason I'm giving you just one thing to do, which is the test for this week, I also want you to look back at your grades and see if you're missing anything, right? I put in zeros, so missing zeros, for any assignments that you haven't turned in yet. That doesn't mean that you can't do them. I do want you to go back, complete them, and turn them in. That way your grades can go up, because it's week 7, and that means you only have next week, and then the 9th week is the week after that. So make sure you're turning everything in. There's no deadline besides the end of the 9 weeks. So just because there's a 0 doesn't mean you can't do it and get it done. Okay? All right, so let's hop into our lesson for this week. All right, per usual, let's start with a warm-up. If you look, there's 4 problems on the screen. I would like you to take a minute, pause the video, try solving these 4 problems out first, and then unpause the video, play it, and then we can go over the problems together. Okay? Now, these problems are, number 1 says 6.58 plus 0.146, so it's adding decimals. That's what we did in the very first week. The second one says 0.12 times 46, so you're multiplying decimals. The third one is 3 1/3 times 5, so we're multiplying fractions. That's what we did 2 weeks ago. And then the last one is 11 divided by 3 2/3. That's what we worked on last week. Try these 4 problems out, pause the video, see if you can do it, and then we'll go over it together. Okay, so let's start. Number 1 is 65.8 plus 0.146. And if you look, I already set up the problem. When you're adding and subtracting with decimals, the first thing you need to do is line up your decimals. So put them right on top of each other, which I did. The next thing you need to do is if you see any blanks, you put zeros there. And once you've done that, then you can add or subtract. So 0 plus 6 is 6. 0 plus 4 is 4. 8 plus 1 is 9. Bring down your decimal. 5 plus nothing is 5. 6 plus nothing is 6. So your answer is 65.946. Hopefully that was right. The second one, you have 0.12 times 46. When you're multiplying decimals, the most important thing is to remember to put the one with the most digits on top. So not the one that has a greater value, but the one that has more numbers in the factor. So 0.12 times 46. Well, which one has more? The 0.12, which is why I put that on top. 6 times 2 is 12, so you write 2 and a 1 up top. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 1 is 7. 6 times 0 is 0. When you move to the second digit, you add a 0, a placeholder of 0. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 1 is 4. And 4 times 0 is 0. Then we need to add these up. 2 plus 0 is 2. 7 plus 8 is 15. Carry your 1. 1 plus 0 is 1. Plus 4 is 5. And then 0 plus nothing is just 0. Now, the last thing you need to do when you're multiplying with decimals is to figure out where your decimal goes in the final answer. And the way you do that is you count the number of decimal places after each decimal in both factors. So let's look at this first one. We have 0.12. How many numbers are after this decimal? 1, 2. So there's 2 for the first factor. And is there any decimal for the second factor? No, it's just 46. So that means 2 plus 0, you move your decimal 2 places to the left, 1, 2, which means that your answer is 5.52. So 5.52 is our answer. All right, so let's try these next two. We have 3 1/3 times 5. When you multiply fractions, what you need to do first is that you need to change your mixed number into an improper fraction. The way we do that is you multiply your denominator by the whole number. 3 times 3 is 9, plus 1 is 10. So this changes to 10/3 times, whenever you have a whole number, you can just add a 1 underneath of it, because 5 divided by 1 is just 5. It doesn't change your number. So we have 5/1. When you're multiplying fractions, all you have to do is multiply straight across. 10 times 5 is 50. 3 times 1 is just 3. The last step is we want to divide to find our mixed number, because this is an improper fraction, and that's not how you want to leave your answer. So 3 goes into 50 16 times, and you would get a remainder of 2, and then your denominator stays the same. So our answer is 16 2/3. The way we got that is we divided the denominator 5 into 50, and then it goes in 16 times. You would divide like normal. You get a remainder of 2, and that always goes on top, and your denominator, which is 3, always stays the same. Okay, let's try this last one. So it's just dividing fractions, which is very similar to multiplying fractions like we learned last week. So we have 11 divided by 30 2/3. There's two things we need to do first before we can start keep, change, and flip. The first thing is, if it's 11, technically that's 11/1, right? Any whole number, you can just put 1 underneath of it. So if I have 11/1, and then we'll divide. The next thing we need to do first is that we want to change this mixed number into an improper fraction so it's easier to work with. 3 times 3 is 9, plus 2 is 11, so we have 11/3. Now we have a division problem with fractions that's a lot easier to work with. What we learned last week is the trick to dividing fractions is to keep, change, flip, which makes it really just a multiplication problem. You keep the first fraction the same, you change division to multiplication, and you flip, or you find the reciprocal of 11/3. So this is going to change. Let me make a different color. How about purple? Keep 11/1. Change division to multiplication. Flip 11/3 to be 3/11. Now we just have to multiply. 11 times 3 is 33, and then 1 times 11 is just 11. Just like the last problem, we don't want to leave our answer as an improper fraction. We want to divide 11 into 33. So 11 times what gives us 33? 3, right? Perfectly 3. So that means our answer, when we're simplifying this improper fraction, is just 3. And that's it. So there's our warm-up. What we're going to do now is we're going to review everything we've learned so far. So I'm going to go over some notes, step-by-steps on everything we do, and hopefully it clarifies everything we've done. It gives you a nice review for your test for this week. Okay, so buckle up, take notes with me if you want, write down each step that we do, try the practice problems with me because it can only help, okay? All right, so first up is adding and subtracting decimals, which is what we worked with on like the first week, 1-1. And the key tricks that we talked about last time are 4 steps. 1, you always want to line up your decimals first. The very first thing you want to do is line up your decimals. 2, place zeros in any blank spaces that you see after you fill in your numbers. Just put zeros in for those blanks. 3, add or subtract. And then 4, just bring your decimal down, straight down in your final answer. Okay? So let's start with the first one. If I have 18.002 plus 2.2, number 1, line up your decimals. So decimal, decimal. Then fill in your numbers. 18.002. And if I were you, make sure you give yourself enough space. That way it's not all jumbled up and it's confusing. So then next, 2.2. And we're adding. Step 2, place any zeros in the blank spaces. So any blank space you see, just put a 0 in for it. That way you know what you're adding or subtracting. Step 3, add or subtract. 2 plus 0 is 2. 0 plus 0 is 0. 0 plus 2 is 2. Bring down your decimal. 8 plus 2 is 10. So 0 and carry your 1. 1 plus 1 plus nothing is 2. So our answer is 20.202. And that's it. Just take it one step at a time. Let's try the next one. The very first thing you want to do is you want to line up your decimals. So just put your decimals right on top of each other. Then fill in your numbers. 16.23 minus 4.3. Step 2, place any zeros in the blank spaces that you see. So place all the zeros. Step 3, subtract. 3 minus 0 is 3. 2 minus 3. Well, we can't do that, so you have to borrow from over here. This becomes a 5. This becomes now a 12. 12 minus 3 is 9. Bring down your decimal. 5 minus 4 is 1. 1 minus nothing is nothing. And that's it. Our final answer is 11.93. Okay, so take each step at a time. Come back to the video when you're taking the test if you want, and then you'll see all of these tips for you. And then you can look at the examples, or like I said, take notes. Write this down on a piece of paper and you have a little cheat sheet for your test. All right, I'm not here to try to make things hard or tricky for you. I want you to try to write down these tricks, and when you're writing them down, you're going to remember them better. All right, so let's try the next thing. Okay, so let's take a look at multiplying decimals and dividing decimals. This was like week 3, what we were working with. Here are the tips and tricks for those types of problems. So if we need to multiply decimals, like over here, right, it says most digit factor goes on top. 2 says you do not need to line up your decimals. 3 says multiply just like normal. 4, you need to count the decimal places in each factor and then apply that to your final answer. Okay, so let's try this example. We have 4.5 times 0.122. Step 1 says put the one with the most digits on top. So we have 4.5 and 0.122. Which one has more factors? This one does, right? So 0.122, so 122 thousandths, times 4.5. Just like normal multiplication, set it up like you normally would a multiplication problem. You don't line up your decimals. That's what step 2 is saying. I wouldn't put this 4.5 all the way over here. Just line it up over here. Don't put the decimals underneath of each other. And step 3 is multiply just like normal. Okay? 5 times 2 is 10. So you write a 0 and a 1. 5 times 2 is 10. Plus 1 is 11. So you write a 1 and a 1. 5 times 1 is 5. Plus 1 is 6. And then 5 times 0 is 0. Then we want to move to our next number. So when you do that, you put a 0 as a placeholder. Let's do a different color. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 2 is 8 again. 4 times 1 is 4. And then 4 times 0 is just 0. Not done yet. We need to add these together. That's how we multiply. 0 plus 0 is 0. 1 plus 8 is 9. 8 plus 6 is 14. So you write a 4 and a 1 up top. 1 plus 0 plus 4 is 5. And then you just bring down the 0 because 0 plus nothing is 0. All right, so the last step says in order to figure out where your decimal goes in your final answer, you need to count the number of decimal places in each factor and then apply that to your final answer. So in this first number, this first factor, how many decimal places are after this decimal? 1, 2, 3. So there's 3 numbers after that decimal. How many numbers are after this decimal? Just 1. So 3 plus 1 is 4, which means we need to move 4 spaces to the left in our final answer. 1, 2, 3, 4. So our decimal goes right here. So our answer is 0.5490. Okay? That's how you multiply decimals. Just take it one step at a time. Now, I'll admit, I think this next one's a little bit more tricky, right? Dividing decimals. But if you take it each step at a time and you pay attention to the way we go over this one, maybe and hopefully it'll make a little bit more sense for you. Okay, there's not many of these on the test, so hopefully we can make it through. All right. Just take it one step at a time. All right, so let's look. The first step is you need to see if there is a decimal in the divisor. If so, you need to move it to the right enough times to make it a whole number. Step 2 says that if you moved a decimal in your divisor, you move an equal distance in the dividend. And then step 3 is just divide until you have no remainder left. Okay, so let's set up our problem. 2.88 divided by 0.09. This first number is your dividend. It's the number that's being divided. This second number, the 0.09, is your divisor. It's the one that's doing the dividing. So 0.09 would go on the outside of our division problem. And then you draw your division bar and you put your dividend, 2.88, inside. Okay, so our problem is set up. Now what we have to do is divide. Follow the steps. If there's a decimal in your divisor, we need to move it to the right enough times to make it a whole number. So we need to move this decimal to the right enough times to make it a normal number. So if I move it once, it would be 0.9. Well, that's not a whole number yet. But if I move it twice, now it has become let me make an eraser, just a normal 9, right? So we moved it twice in the divisor, And then step 2 says you need to move an equal distance in the dividend. If we moved it twice in the divisor, we move it twice in the dividend. Once, twice. So now that 2.88 becomes a 288. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put my decimal right up above where I moved it to, just so that I know that my decimal is in the correct spot. Step 3 says divide until there's no remainder left. Okay, we can do that. 9, can it go into just a 2? No, it's too big. Can 9 go into 28 though? Yes, and it can go into it 3 times, because 9 times 3 is 27. Then you subtract these numbers. 28 minus 27 is just 1. Bring down our 8. And we get 9 going into 18. Can 9 go into 18 evenly? Yes, it can. Twice to give us 9 times 2 is 18 exactly. And 18 minus 18 is 0. So that's it. Our answer for this problem is just 32, like we got up here. And that's it. So really, the biggest thing you need to look out for when you divide decimals is look to see, is there a decimal in this outside number? If there is, you need to move it. If there isn't, then it's fine. You just divide like normal, put the decimal where it needs to go, and you're fine. But if there's a decimal in your divisor, you have to move it. And if you move it in the divisor, you move it in equal amount in the dividend. Okay, so if you move it twice in the divisor, don't move it 3 or 4 times in the dividend. If you move it twice, you move it twice. If you move it 3 times, you move it 3 times. Okay? All right, let's move on to fractions. All right, so when we're multiplying fractions, these are the steps we need to follow. 1, if it's a mixed number, you want to change it to its improper form. 2, line up the fractions. 3, multiply straight across. And then 4, simplify if you can. If it's an improper fraction, you need to change it back into its mixed number. And the way you do that is you divide. All right, so let's try this problem. We have 3/4 times 6 1/2. Step 1 tells us that if it's a mixed number, we need to change it to its improper form. And this 6 1/2 is a mixed number. So we change it by doing 6 times 2, which is 12, plus 1, which is 13. So now the problem should look like 3/4 times 13 over 2. Step 2, line up the fractions. Well, now they're lined up. Since we changed that mixed number into an improper fraction, my fractions are lined up. 3 is over top of 4, and 13 is over top of 2. There is no whole number attached to any of these fractions. Step 3 says multiply straight across. Okay, so if I'm multiplying straight across, 3 times 13 gives you 39. And then 4 times 2 gives you 8. So we did. Step 4, simplify. If it's an improper fraction, which this one is, 39 over 8, an improper fraction, if you remember, is where it has a bigger number on top and a smaller number on the bottom. It's kind of like a bobblehead fraction, right? So we need to fix this by dividing 8 into 39. So divide 8 into 39. 8 times what gets you really close to 39 without going over? 4. So you put 4 up top. 8 times 4 gives you 32. And then you just have to subtract. 39 minus 32 gives you 7. So that's your remainder. And everything you need is right here to make your mixed number. 8 goes into 39. Your answer is 4. So you write a nice big 4. Your remainder is 7. So that goes on top of our new fraction. And your denominator the bottom number, is always what you divide it by, which is 8. So our answer to this multiplication problem is 4 7/8. Okay? Hopefully that helped. That's what we did 2 weeks ago. Now let's try dividing fractions. All right, so this is what we worked on last week. Hopefully it's still fresh in your mind, but these are the steps on how to solve a dividing fraction problem. Step 1, if it's a mixed number, you need to change it to its improper form, just like when we multiply fractions. Step 2, my favorite, keep, change, flip. Okay, that means you keep the first fraction the same, you change division to multiplication, and then you flip the second fraction, or you find its reciprocal. Once you've done that, step 3 is you multiply straight across. Step 4, just like the last example we went over, you want to simplify. If it's an improper fraction, you need to change it back to a mixed number by dividing. All right, so let's try this problem out. We have 3.5 divided by 4. Right off the bat, you should see that this is a mixed number, so it needs to change to an improper fraction before we can start dividing or multiplying. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7. So this is 7/2 divided by, well, we have a 4. Well, think back. Whenever you have a whole number, what number can I put underneath of it and it will remain still the same answer? A 1. 1 can always go under your whole numbers, any whole number, when you're working with fractions, because it doesn't change the answer. My first number is 4. If I do 4/1 or 4 divided by 1, the answer is still 4. Okay? So I've done step 1. I've set up my fractions. Now I need to keep, change, flip. That means, let me do a different color, keep the first fraction the same, change division to multiplication, and flip the second fraction. Okay? So what I need to do is rewrite this problem, 7/2, so I kept it the same. Change division to multiplication, and then find the reciprocal or flip the second fraction. If it's 4/1, if you flip it upside down, now it's 1/4. Step 3, multiply straight across. 7 times 1 is 7. 2 times 4 is 8. And then step 4 is just simplify. You need to see, is there any number that can evenly go into both the top numerator or bottom denominator? Okay, 7/8. 8, we have 2 goes into 8, 4 goes into 8, 8 goes into 8, but none of those numbers, so 2 doesn't go into 7, 4 does not go into 7, and 8 certainly doesn't go into 7, right? So that means that this is our simplest form. It's our smallest answer, and that's it, 7/8. Okay, so hopefully that made sense for you. Hopefully that was still a little bit fresh for you because we just did it last week. Just take your time, do one step at a time, and then I'm sure you guys will do great. Okay? So that's it. That's all really we're doing for this week. I just wanted to review everything we've learned so far so that you feel prepared for your Topic 1 assessment. So before I set you guys free, what I want to do is I want to show you what Schoology is going to look like and the different things available for you so that you can start studying for this test. Okay? Okay, so when you log on to Schoology, and yours is going to look a little bit different because I'm making this before week 7 is published. So if you click on week 7, it'll look something like this. Now this video will be posted right here where it says week 7 video topic 1 review, right? This right here says topic 1 study guide. Now this is not for a grade like I said before, but please, please, please click on it. And what it is, it's a PDF. It's actually from your textbook. So for those of you that have your textbooks or the virtual students, if you've come to the school and gotten your textbooks, I just took the exact pages, the study guide, the review for topic 1, and I put it in here. It's 4 pages. and it goes over everything we've learned so far. Vocabulary words. It gives you quick reviews. It talks about each one, add, subtract, multiply, decimals, and it gives you examples, and it goes through everything. It gives you plenty of practice problems to try. Some of them may be on the test, but it goes through every topic. Here's dividing decimals, and it gives you a step-by-step what to do. Here's multiplying fractions, again, step-by-step. Dividing fractions, and the last mixed numbers, and then the last one, some word problems. Okay, so please give this a try. It's not for a grade. It's nothing that you need to turn in, but try these out. It's a good way for you to practice the same things that we've been going over for the past 6-7 weeks. All right, I want you to do well on this test, even if it's just a couple out of each topic, each chapter that's in here. Just a few problems makes a world of a difference, okay? And if you're confused on anything, ask me, right? Or ask your family. Ask somebody for a little bit of help, and they can help guide you, okay? So that's one thing you can work on with week 7. The next thing, now my in-person students, you won't see this. So if you're watching the video, you will not see this in your Schoology because we're going to be doing Jeopardy in class together, all right? But I wanted to give my virtual students the same Jeopardy just so that you can practice as well. And if you click right here where it says Jeopardy Review, click here. I know it looks like a scam, but if you click on it, it is real. So you could play with by yourself, or if you want to play with your family, you can. You choose the number of teams or no teams at all, and you just click start. And then look, there's 5 problems on each topic that's going to be on your topic 1 test. Add, subtract decimals, multiply, divide decimals, multiply fractions, divide fractions, word problems. Try them out. Play against maybe a brother, sister, cousin, aunt, uncle, mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, whoever, right? Whoever's at home, play against them. See if you can beat them, right? But this will help you with your test as well, okay? Now, again, that's not graded either, but I'm just trying to give you plenty of things to be working on before you take what is right here at the bottom, the topic 1 assessment. And again, I'm giving you 2 attempts on this test. No more, just 2. Try your best. Take your time. It's all multiple choice, okay? But it goes through everything that we just went over inside this video. So please, please, please do not do this test until you've reviewed a little bit, okay? Even if you feel super confident, you can at least try some of those practice problems to make sure you have it down, because once you submit the test, that's it, okay? And it's going to be the last big test for this 9 weeks. The next 2 weeks after this, so week 8 and week 9, we're going to be starting topic 2, but we're not going to have anything as big as this test. All right, so please take your time. If for any reason you have questions, send me a message. Or on Wednesdays, remember, I'm going to be inside, when you click groups, every one of you are inside this Mr. Dotson's Math crew. If you click on it, I will be in this conference from like 9 a.m. to about 2 p.m.-ish, sometimes 3 p.m., but I'm in there for hours. Stop in, ask questions. A lot of you have, and I work through problems, and some of you just stop in to say hi. That's fine. But that's a good way every Wednesday before you take the assessment. If you have any questions, you can ask me, okay? That's what I'm here for. I'm here to help you succeed, okay? So help me help you. All right, so as always, guys, if you have any questions, please send me a message, and I'll be happy to help in any way I can. Until next time in the next video, good luck, keep up the great work, and I look forward to seeing straight A's on these topic 1 assessments. So goodbye, class.